iTunes has become a bit of a monster in recent years. It tends to bombard people with advertising and gimmicks that can get on your nerves. And the elegance of the original design has sometimes got a little bit lost. I'm going to show you how to get iTunes back to being what it should be, which is a simple way to catalogue and manage your audio files. Now, firstly, a disclaimer. iTunes is an Apple product. I'm an Apple user. I have heard that apparently iTunes is available for these other kinds of computers called PCs or something, but I've never actually met anybody that uses one of those. I'm not even sure they exist, but I'll try and address some of the rumours about that as we go along. So this is what iTunes looks like the first time you open it up, before you've got any files in there. So already it's giving you a load of bump, which we need to get rid of. So there's a few things I'm going to do. Click on the window. I'm going to clean up this area at the side, the playlists and so on here, because it's showing me stuff I don't want to see, and it's not showing me stuff that I do want to see. So first of all, I'll go into iTunes Preferences, and I can tick these boxes at the top to determine what iTunes will show me in that left-hand side of the window. Now, movies and TV shows is fine for me personally. I also want to see podcasts because I use a lot of those. iTunes U, not remotely interested in that. Books and apps I actually find useful as well if you've got an iPad or something and you want to manage your books and apps. I don't want Ping. Does anybody ever use Ping? iTunes DJ, Genius, no, not interested in those. Shared libraries can be useful as well if you're trying to access another computer where you've got access to that library. Once you've done that, personally, I like to get rid of all these playlists here. We can hide that artwork window there and then just click on these and press delete. I'm not quite sure what they're for. Okay, so we're immediately cleaning things up a little bit. Now we're going to see all this stuff here until we add at least one audio file. So to get our library started, we can either go to File, Add to Library, and we get a standard browser. Or we can drag and drop, which a lot of people don't realise with iTunes. There's nothing stopping us opening that folder, for instance. Shift clicking the top one, and then holding down Shift, press the bottom one for a multiple selection and just drag it in. And that way it goes importing. Close that. Okay, it's taking a while. Now while it's doing that, I want to show you something that's quite important, and a lot of people miss this, and this might be one of the differences between Macs and PCs, is there is a preference and it's hidden away in Advanced, and it's this little tick here which is extremely important. Copy files to iTunes media folder when adding to library. Now by default on a Mac that is ticked, which means that by dragging those files from my desktop to iTunes, it has duplicated those files into my iTunes library, which means I could safely then throw them away from the desktop, knowing that they're safely catalogued away. However, I believe on a PC that is not ticked. So what it actually does is it just creates a link, a shortcut. It appears in your iTunes window, but it's referring to files that could be anywhere on your computer. And that can be a problem. If you suddenly throw those away, the link to them will still be in your iTunes window. When you try to play them, it can't find the file. So personally, I find that having that on is generally the most useful, unless I want to do some file conversion, in which case I tend to turn it off, but we'll come back to that in a minute. For now, I want it on. So it has now copied all of those into my iTunes library. Now there are view options up here. For instance, there's cover flow, which is all very pretty but not really very useful. There's view by album. Again, these are all okay if you've got a few files, but once you start to get a big library, which most people have, the only real one of any use is the first one, which is the least pretty, but it's definitely the most functional. Now this reduces it really to just a table of columns with different information. By the way, you can also drag this window over here if it's a bit wide, which it often is. Now the order of these files here at the moment is determined by the alphabetical order of the artist. And we've got these other columns here, plays, rating, genre. I don't find those useful at all. I'll decide what genre something is. I don't need iTunes to tell me. I'm certainly not interested in giving it a star rating or how many plays it's had. All a bit gimmicky. I'm going to change that with the view menu here. There are view options. And a lot of people don't use this. Remember, iTunes is a tool. You should get it to work for you. You shouldn't be a slave to it. So I'm immediately going to get rid of the rating, the plays, the genre. Album, I suppose, can be useful. Artist obviously is very useful. Now, one of the most useful ones is date added. That's not the date it was recorded, that's the date that you added it to your library, which means that you can get it to show you the most recent editions first. The next one that I always have is kind, which tells you whether it's an AAC or an MP3 or a WAV. That's very useful. I also find that a size, just to get an idea of how many megabytes it is good. And really they're the main ones that I use. And if I click OK now, those columns change. And they can be dragged around if you like. I'll probably put the size at the end there after kind. So all kinds of information, and the great thing is we can organize these songs or music files by those columns. So if I click on name, it shows me the songs in alphabetical order. If I click it again, the arrow changes and it shows us in reverse alphabetical order. Likewise with artists, albums, etc. And this here, the date added, which is very, very useful. I can see either the first ones I've loaded at the top or the most recent ones I've loaded at the top. I can see either the oldest ones or the newest ones. Now, as it happens, these are all uploaded today, but this becomes very, very useful. In fact, I tend to keep this on by default, so I can always find what I've just imported right at the top of the window. And then kind here, if you want to find one or two WAV files in the middle of a load of MP3s, it's great to click on that and it organises them all by type. Look, we've got one WAV down there. I can immediately find it in alphabetical order. And then size here is sometimes good to give you an idea of how much space you're saving by converting a WAV to an MP3, for instance.